friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalia Leigh. I'm an indie author and freelance editor. And what do you think about my new filming location? Many of you might know, Greg and I recently moved into a brand new apartment and we're still getting it set up. And I think this might be maybe a filming location, so I'm pretty excited about it. Now, today is going to be a little bit of a chatty video, hopefully a little bit of like an inspirational video, and today I'm going to be talking about comparison and how you can stop comparing yourself to other writers and creators, kind of specifically is what I'm going to be talking about. Focusing on comparing your writing to other people, your successes to other people, and kind of your journey as a writer and author and creator to the journeys of other creators. So if you have experienced comparison, as I'm sure most of us have, then this might be the video for you. All right, let's get started. Okay, everybody, so my first tip, if you are feeling like you are comparing yourself to other writers, to other authors and creators, is to have more mindful social media interactions. This is something that I have had to take very seriously, especially last year. I used to find myself endlessly scrolling through Instagram. Like if I was feeling bored, I would go to Instagram. If I had like a moment of quiet and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my brain, I would immediately go to Instagram. And when I was doing that in a mindless way, just endlessly scrolling, and we've all heard that people post their highlight reel on social media. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Many people like to put their best foot forward. Now, of course, there are going to be people who also share their struggles and the problems that they're having on social media, which I think is wonderful because it shows us more of the balance in people's lives. But when you are being mindful on social media and remembering that people are sharing what they believe to be the best of themselves and the best of their lives, and then you're taking that and you're comparing it to your current life, your reality, it can make us feel bad about ourselves. And especially, let's say, people are posting pictures about, oh, I wrote 5,000 words today, or, oh, I had time to write all week, or I've been writing all weekend, or, look at all my books that just came in the mail. Like whatever it is, even though it's nice to celebrate with those people and to feel excited for them, if there's somebody that you have a friendship with, a relationship with, and you want to support those people, it's wonderful. But it can also make you feel down about yourself if you are not either at that point in your writing journey, or if you don't have the availability to be doing, 24-hour writing sprints or writing 10,000 words in a day. And I have, recently over the past few months found myself kind of in a similar position. I used to have a lot more time to write, doing NaNoWriMo and Camp NaNoWriMos, and now I find myself in a position where I'm working so much, and I've talked about this in previous vlogs. I'll have one linked down below if you want to go check it out. I'm working so much that I personally am really struggling to find writing time. So when I see other people posting about, I just wrote for 24 hours straight, or even like planner videos or planner posts where people are like, oh, all I have to do this week is write in my planner and work on my books, my 3 books or whatever that I'm working on. And you can immediately take that and reflect upon it and say, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Like I'm comparing myself to these people who they just write all day and they just get to sit at home all day and just work on their creative projects. And it's easy to start doing that. But I feel like personally, when I approach social media from a more mindful place and I remind myself, okay, this is the highlight reel, this is the perfect curated life, and I remind myself that I can't compare it to my everyday reality, I have found that incredibly helpful. So I'm now able to approach social media from a healthier place. And every time I go on social media, I'm being mindful and I'm actually enjoying it and trying to get something out of it. Because the moment you stop enjoying it and the moment it just makes you feel bad about yourself, hi Mew, I think is the moment it's time to take a step back and to reflect on why you're on social media in the first place. And I do think social media, Mew is down here, I do think social media is important in this day and age for authors, especially authors who are just getting started. If you're going to be a debut author, personally, I think it's really important to have social media. So I have had to learn how to maintain social media presences while also being positive about it and not letting myself just compare every single time I'm on social media. So tip number one is just be mindful about all of your social media interactions, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you are, just be mindful about it. Okay, my second tip I think is a really important one, and that is to remember that all of the successful authors, I have cat hair on my face because Mew is on my lap now, the successful authors that you look up to or admire, whether they're traditionally published or they're like a successful indie public, oh my god, whether they are traditionally published or a successful indie author, you have to remember that even though you're seeing their success, what you often don't see are all the struggles that led up to that point and all the really hard work that had to go into getting to where they are. Again, I've seen the whole like idea of our experiences kind of like an iceberg, and you're only seeing the very tip of that iceberg above the water. So you're seeing this person at the height of their success. You're seeing this author when they're selling, thousands of books, or when suddenly they're making a living on their writing. And this is what you're seeing, is that tip of the iceberg where they have really reached a level of success that you admire and look up to. Now, what you're not seeing is everything that's kind of under the surface. That's where the bulk of that iceberg is, right? And that's where all the hard work, the struggle, the comparison that they felt, the jealousy that they probably felt, the tears, the blood and sweat that went into getting to where they are. And of course, there are going to be some people who just get lucky. It's their debut novel, they land a really good agent and it sells incredibly well, and they kind of just get lucky in that, and they're very fortunate. And there are going to be some of those people, you might even admire some authors like that who just had, a debut novel come out and suddenly they are like a celebrity author. But those are going to be like the unicorn cases, is what I like to call it. And again, I don't think that's realistic. It happens to a few people, but you don't want to compare yourself to the unicorn when really, in most cases, that's not going to be reality. But even those people had to put in the energy and the hard work to write that first book, and then to edit that first book, and then they had to learn how to query, and then they had to get their agent, and then they finally had to, get through to an editor and get picked up by a publishing house. So a lot of hard work goes into every successful author that you admire or look up to. Hard work goes into every single book that you have ever enjoyed. So just remember that it doesn't come easy. Everybody is going to struggle no matter where they are in their journey, no matter where they are along the process. If it's their first book or their 50th book, there are going to be struggles. So something that has helped me is just remembering that even the people I admire who are doing really well, I remember that they have hard days. They struggle with things, they doubt themselves, and that's just part of the process. And when you finally remember that and hold on to that, then I feel like I don't know if I want to say it validates your experience and your struggles a little bit more, but it certainly makes you feel like you're not alone. And when you feel like, oh, okay, everybody has struggles, everybody has hard days, then you're no longer comparing your hard days to somebody else's success. So just keep that in mind. Everybody has to work hard. Everybody has to struggle to get to where they are. And I feel like that is just part of the journey. Okay, Mew is here, so you might hear her down here meowing at me. Okay, so my third tip is to stay really focused about what your dream is and what your goals are. So is it your dream to become traditionally published and see your book in a Barnes & Noble? Is it your dream to be an indie author and to be able to make a living on your writing and, selling books? Or maybe it's your dream to write a memoir and be able to self-publish it and give it to your family members at Christmas. Like, whatever your dream is, I think it's incredibly important to stay really clear on that and really focused. And it's also okay for that dream to change. So years ago, before I had written anything, I struggled and struggled to write my first book. Hi, Mew. I started and abandoned many books. And back then, however many years ago that was, my dream was to just write a book. Like, I just wanted to be able to say, I wrote this book, I was able to, put the end on it, and that was my dream, and that was my goal. So it wasn't very realistic for me to look at people who, were professionals and had been doing that for a long time, because my goal and my dream was just to write the first draft, just to be able to say the end. And then once I achieved that, I was able to set new goals for myself and move toward new dreams. And when you're comparing yourself to others, like let's say I was comparing myself to Lainey Taylor, for example, like Is it my ultimate dream to get traditionally published and see my book in Barnes & Noble? No. Oh, no. See, Mew had something to say on that too. Would it be really cool to get traditionally published and see my book in a bookstore? Yeah, that would be awesome. But I can't say that that is my ultimate dream right now. I have had such wonderful experiences with self-publishing my books and getting my books out there, without an agent or a publishing house having to give me the go-ahead. So it's not realistic for me to look at somebody like Lainey Taylor and to compare myself to her. And that's for many, many reasons, but it's not my ultimate dream to be that traditionally published author who is in all the bookstores and goes on all the tours. Like, that's not my goal right now in life. So, what is your dream? What are your goals? And keep those very, very clear in your head so you know what you need to do every day or every week or every month, every year. What do you need to do to keep yourself on track to achieve your goals and dreams? And don't feel like you need to try to excel at somebody else's idea of what success is or what somebody else's, dream life is. Just focus on yours and focus on the steps you can take every day or every week or month, whatever it is, to achieve those goals and ultimately to be able to reach your dream. Okay, my fourth tip is to look back and reflect on how far you've come. And I know people always say like, oh, don't look back, just keep moving forward. But I think it's really important to look back at everything you've done. And you can do this regardless of where you are in your journey. Maybe you are writing your very first book and you're ready to really take the steps necessary to finish writing that book. Maybe you've written multiple novels and now you're working at self-publishing an entire series like I am. Or maybe you're working at, more of a financial goal. Like, oh, I want to be able to be, reliant on my book sales by the end of this year. Or maybe you're saying, okay, I have an agent and now I want to, really work hard to try to get a publishing house to pick up my work. Like, whatever it is and wherever you are on your journey, I think it's important to reflect and look back at how far you have come. I know that, during times where I have felt bad about myself or I have felt like, I wish I was further along in my journey, it has always grounded me to look back at how far I've come. Like, I remember the very first time I was able to write the end on a book because that was such a momentous occasion for me because I learned that I could write a book. So looking back and being grateful for the fact that I was able to write my first book, looking back and feeling grateful for all of the mistakes that I made when I was publishing Highborn, when I was publishing Way of Spears, and being grateful that I was able to learn from those mistakes and just knowing that everything I have done has led me up to this point. And, I have no idea where I'm going to go from here, how far this road extends essentially that I'm walking down, but I have cat hair all over my face. But I do know that looking back and being grateful for everything that I've done and being grateful for how far I've come makes me feel good about where I'm at right now. Because you don't want to be too hard on yourself. And this is something that, again, I think a lot of us struggle with. We think that we should be achieving so much and doing so much, but then we forget to look back and reflect on how much we have already done and everything that we've already achieved. And you can do this even, like I said, even if you are just starting out on your journey. If you're watching this video today and you're like, I've not written my book yet, but I really, really want to. And I'm ready to dedicate myself to this process. Even if you're at the very beginning of your journey, you can still reflect because it takes a while to even get to the point where you say, okay, I'm ready to sit down and actually work on this project. For years, I thought, oh my gosh, it'd be so cool to be an author. It would be so cool to be a writer, but I didn't start writing because it was so intimidating. It felt like such a daunting process. So just getting to the point where you're on AuthorTube and you're trying to learn and you're getting started with your writing journey, even at that point, you can look back and reflect and be grateful for how far you've come. So if you are comparing yourself to other people, comparing yourself to, how far they've gone on their journey, just remember to reflect on your journey and be grateful for everything you've already achieved. All right, my fifth tip is to use comparison as a healthy motivator. Now, this works really well for me, and I think Part of that is because I have learned how to be humble, and I also like a little bit of friendly competition. It's just within my nature. So when I say to use comparison as a healthy motivator, I mean to look around at people who are doing a really good job at what you want to do and learn from them. You know, you can always admire and look up to them and compare yourself in a healthy way. So I'm always going to use myself as an example because I like to share my experiences and what I've been through. Something that I really like to do and that's helped me is to, find people like on AuthorTube, for example, who I think are doing an amazing job at self-publishing, because that's something I'm working really hard at right now. So I find these other creators and I learn from them. There are people that I call my friends, people that I feel that I'm very close to, that I learn from. And I am humble and I'm always comfortable enough to ask questions and to say, I don't know how to do this. Could you help me out with this? How did you handle this problem that I've come up against? I've had people help me with Ingram Spark. I've had people help me with, how do I send ARCs for the first time? And again, I think just being humble and being able to say, okay, I don't know how to do this. Can you please help me, is really important. But then just using the success of other people to inspire you to do the best you can. And I've also, I've said this in other videos too, how I know that AuthorTube and being part of this community is what took my work to the next level. Because if you look at Highborn and Way of Spears, and then you compare those books to Song of the Dryad and Pistol Daisy, there is a huge jump in terms of, not only my writing ability, because I'm learning with every book I'm writing, but also, the production of those books, the quality of those books is so much better than my previous books, because I was here on AuthorTube. I saw what everybody else was doing and how hard they were working and what they were achieving, and it lifted me up and it inspired me to do better. So that's why Song of the Dryad and Pistol Daisy, I think, are, for me, such strong pieces of work, because I learned from other people and I was motivated and inspired by them. I had a little bit of friendly competition, and it helped me go much further. So I've heard this saying, and I feel like it might kind of apply here, and it's that if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room, because essentially you want to be surrounded by people who are doing better than you are so that you can learn from them. And humility is huge in that, because the moment you say, I know everything, I don't need to learn from anybody else, I have this all figured out on my own, is the moment that you stop learning. It's the moment that you close yourself off to being inspired by others and learning from the successes and struggles of other people. So I am always happy and excited to look around at people who are doing what I see as, they're doing better than I am in terms of whatever my goals are, and then learning from those people and growing based on the little bit of friendly competition I have with them. So this is something that I don't know if it works for everybody. Just for my personality, it works incredibly well, because I love seeing people who are doing a wonderful job and I love learning from those people. So if you want to compare, at least try to do it in a positive way and an uplifting way. And then going along with that, my sixth tip is that if you absolutely have to compare, try to compare yourself to your past self. So this kind of brings everything together, all the tips that I've given you today. If you're going to compare yourself to someone, compare yourself to the person you were a year ago or the person you were 5 years ago, instead of looking at everybody else's successes and feeling like you're not doing enough. So something that I like doing is reflecting, and I also, I like to bullet journal. I have 3 bullet journals now, and I love looking back on my bullet journals and reflecting on what I was working on, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. When I was first working on Song of the Dryad and all the struggles I had with that project, when I was going through, the editing process for the very first time, when I was getting my cover designed for the very first time. I love looking back on that person and the struggles that person was having, and then seeing how far I've come. So I compare myself to the past version of myself, and I feel so proud of where I am now, because I've gone through all those struggles and I've been able to come to this point. And then I also know that 5 years from now, I'm going to look back on what I'm doing today and the struggles that I'm having today, and hopefully I'm going to feel proud of myself for everything I have accomplished. So I think that kind of wraps up my thoughts on comparison, how you can either avoid comparison, how you can turn comparison into a healthy motivator with a little bit of friendly competition and humility and learning from other people, and how you can also just look back at yourself, reflect, compare your current self to who you used to be, and remind yourself of how far you've come while also knowing that you are going to achieve so much more moving forward. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do like sitting down and doing these little bit of like chatty videos. Hopefully they're a little bit inspiring if possible, because I know that writing a book, there's so much that goes into it. There's not only the skill and, learning how to do it and having the tools to do it and having the time to do it, but it's also a very emotional process. And I've been through the emotional roller coasters with writing books, and I know that that roller coaster isn't going to stop, because it's just a cycle. You feel really good, you feel really bad. You feel really good, you feel really bad. And there's, comparison plays a part in that. But when you can learn why you're comparing yourself to others, if you can do that more mindfully, stay really focused on your goals, learn from other people, be humble, and appreciate all that you've done, I think you will feel much better moving forward with all of your creative endeavors. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. Of course, you can leave any comments, questions, or suggestions for new videos down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.